Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. And I have something so special for you today. It is going to rock your socks. Today, with me, I have somebody that is staggeringly brilliant, and she is going to share some of the biggest insights you're going to be able to find on the internet about how to really structure your business for success. Today, with me, my friends, I have the beautiful, the brilliant, and the fabulous Alicia Butler Pierre, all the way from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Welcome to the show, Alicia.
Bonjour, Michael. Thank
Bonjour.
you. Wow,
Alicia,
I think that is the best intro I have ever had, and I've been on a lot of podcasts.
Oh, you deserve it. You deserve it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have you here and be sort of, just laying out your wisdom and your knowledge for my audience. It's so tremendous. Alicia, your journey is amazing, but share with us a little bit here as we get started what your specialty is today and really what it is that you're going to sort of reveal to us and deliver to us throughout the course of the next 25 minutes or so.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Michael, again, for sharing your platform with me. I'm super grateful for that. I specialize in business infrastructure. And for those of you that may be wondering, what on earth is that? It's really just a system for linking your people, your processes, and all of those tools and technologies that you're using to run the day to day operations of your business, linking all of those elements together so that when you can grow and not just grow, but even scale in a sustainable, repeatable, and profitable way. And if given the opportunity today, if we don't run out of time, I would love to show you a quick exercise that you can start doing immediately to put in place your own company's business infrastructure.
Well, let's make sure we
How
don't
about
run out of
that?
time. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Perfect. Alicia, what I love about what you're talking about is that this is the skeletal structure for business owners, right? There's lots of people, including myself. Like I am just as guilty of this. I go out and I talk about sales. I talk about marketing. I talk about content and branding, all of these sexy items where it's like, oh, let's attract a lot of attention. And we're drawing people to us and all of this really kind of sort of like above like the tip of the iceberg kind of stuff that people love to hear about and love to talk about. But the crux of the matter is if you don't have actual structure in your business, like if you don't have the spine of your company, the whole damn thing is going to fall apart. So I love that we're talking about this today.
Thank you so much for that because you said something really important, the fact that it's sexy. Because I'm often told that people don't want to talk about operations or business infrastructure because it isn't sexy. That's why I even had to have like a virtual background just to kind of spice things up a little bit of being on the beach because we're about to talk. Here I come. There's Michael, with all of his energy. And then here I come talking about operations like, oh God, I'd rather watch grass grow or listen to the crickets outside.
Or the guy fixing the freezer in the background at my retail store, because I'm in my retail store, right? You can hear the drill in the background fixing my freezer. You know what though? But it's so important, Alicia, because you can have all that, like we can talk about sales and marketing, all these other things, but the real crux of the matter is you don't have a business until you have systems.
That's absolutely true. I definitely believe that. And something that I often say, and I'm so glad you and I get to have this conversation because I always tell people we shouldn't think of it as marketing versus operations. You need both.
Yeah.
You absolutely need both. Marketing is all about the promise. What is it that you're promising to your potential customer or your existing customer? Operations is all about how do you make good on that promise. So marketing is saying, we can deliver this product to you within the next 24 hours. Operations is scrambling in the background like, oh crap, how do we make sure we actually get this to the customer?
How do we pull that off?
Within 24 hours. Thanks a lot, Michael, for making that promise. Now we actually have to make sure we can keep it. So we should be working in unison with each other, and we should not be siloed. It shouldn't be who's going to get the lion's share of a company's attention. They both should get the attention. But you're right. When we talk about things that are sales and or marketing related, it's about the things that your customers see.
Yeah.
The shiny, beautiful office, or the social media presence, the
Sure.
beautiful, sleek website that you have. Whereas operations is more about, what do your customers actually experience? Marketing is about what they see. Operations is about what they experience. So you've attracted me to your website, Michael, but once I get there as a visitor, what kind of experience do I have? Or I've ordered this product from you, or I've signed up for this particular service. What was my experience like? Did you give me exactly what you promised I would get? And if not, I might have a bad experience. Or will I have a consistent experience?
Oh, that's another big key.
That
Absolutely.
is a huge key. So if I work with Michael one day, but then Sarah the next time I work with your company, Michael, am I going to have the same experience, or will it be vastly different?
You know what I love about that, Alicia, is that that's how like in a real crux, that's how my brick and mortar business succeeded. Right? I talk about the fact that it took me understanding marketing to be able to help my business grow. Right? But to help to ensure that that growth was sustainable, repeatable, and that it was layering on top of itself, so it was actual growth, not just replacing clients that are going somewhere else, right? To make sure that was happening, all of that was structure, and all of that was operations, and all of it was systems, and all of it was taking, the customer service sort of genius that I had that was keeping people coming back and systemizing it and going, this is how I say things to people. This is what I'm saying. This is when I'm saying them. And this is how we bring in a grooming client. This is how we bring in a daycare client. And we have systems binders for all the different departments that are this big, like they're big fat binders with systems inside those things that give the structure to the company so that everybody can be operating, pulling on the rope in the same way. And so the marketing that I do now works.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Now, you said something else really important, and that is having those big, fat, thick binders. And I think if I may just debunk a quick myth about that, so many people, when they think about their operations, their business infrastructure, their processes and their procedures, they automatically default to that proverbial operations manual that's big and clunky, and it might just sit on the shelf, collect dust, and no one ever uses it. But in 2023, there are so many digital tools at our disposal, many of which are free or very low cost, that we can actually digitize those thick binders. Obviously, you can still have that because many of us, I know for myself, I like paper. I'm a tactile, very visual learner. I not only have to see it, but it helps if I can also touch something. But for those of us, especially if you have a remote team, to be able to quickly share that tribal knowledge, getting that tribal knowledge out of everyone's heads, putting it into some type of a digital format. A tool that my team and I use, Michael, is Notion. We absolutely love it because it gives us, Notion is a very nice compromise considering the fact that we are fully remote. We can't be in the same place at the same time. We don't necessarily have things printed out, but Notion is so visual that it almost makes it worth the effort to digitize everything. Whereas when we had things in Dropbox, we just saw a series of nested folders.
Sure.
It still was difficult sometimes to quickly find what you were looking for. But with Notion, it creates thumbnail images for you.
Nice.
You can embed different types of documents. So it's very user-friendly. It has its own little search feature within the tool itself. So it's very intuitive. And that's a tool that we use that I highly recommend for
Perfect.
others to consider using as well.
Okay, well, here we go. So tool tip number 1 of the day so far.
That's right.
Check out Notion.
Check out Notion. Notion.com.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now, Alicia, if we draw the curtain back just a little bit further, this business that you started, Equilibria, which is all about helping small business owners accomplish incredibly big things through evolutionary and revolutionary structure and helping them get incredible tools to make them successful, put those pieces together in a way that works for them, right?
Right.
But that wasn't always your business. Like this kind of came to fruition over some iterations here. And what I think is important about your journey, Alicia, is to illustrate the fact that a lot of people have started a business, but what it is today or what it's going to become tomorrow, you may or may not even see that journey yet. Or you might be going, wow, I started a business over here, but it's turning into something else completely. And you know what I love about your story is that you were okay with that, or at least it seems from the outside. I mean, you probably had some wrestling with it as it did that, but you started out your business venture as a home reorganizing company.
Absolutely.
So walk us through that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, Michael, I was living in, and we were talking about this before, kind of in the green room, I guess you could say, backstage. We were talking about the fact that I am originally from Louisiana, which is in the southern part of the U.S., a town called Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But I was living in New Orleans, and I knew I had to get out of New Orleans quick, fast, and in a hurry. Couldn't explain it. To make a long story very short, I abruptly quit my job. I was working as a chemical engineer, quit my job, finished up my MBA. I was going to school at night while I was working full time during the day. Again, couldn't shake this feeling that I needed to get out of New Orleans quick, fast, and in a hurry. I left and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, and this was in February 2005. I've been here now for 18 years, which is so hard to believe. And then 6 months later, Hurricane Katrina happened in New Orleans. But when I got to Atlanta, for those who aren't familiar with Atlanta, it is home to Coca-Cola, Delta Airlines, the Home Depot, Chick-fil-A. So in other words, there was a huge corporate presence here, not just corporations, but they're actually headquartered here. And you could not have told me that I was not going to get a job at Coca-Cola. Here I was, with this engineering background, newly minted MBA. Who wasn't going to hire me, right? Well, there are a lot of really smart people here.
Okay.
And after about 2 months of what seemed to be endless, soulless job searching, I decided, you know what? For the amount of time, effort, and energy that I'm spending looking for a job, working for someone else, I should redirect that same effort, time, and energy into creating an opportunity for myself. So through a period of introspection and really evaluating, what is it that I'm naturally really good at? What are my natural skills, talents, and abilities? And it was organizing, Michael. And I'll never forget it. I remember being on the computer, on the internet late one night and discovered there was an organization called NAPO, the National Association of Professional Organizers.
Really?
Who would have thought? Exactly. Who would have thought, right?
Well, if there's a club for Jack Russell owners and Jack Russell Terrier owners, then why not have NAPO? That makes sense. Okay.
Exactly. So I remember going to an Office Depot, buying some business card, like the little business cards that you run through your bed, making up some business cards, literally networking. And I did a considerable amount of bartering when I first started because I didn't know anyone. But I would just ask, hey, if I come in and organize your office, Michael, in exchange, would you give me a testimonial and a referral to someone else?
Right. Brilliant.
And that's how I eventually built up this roster of clients. And 2 years in, I received my first commercial job. So I was doing a lot of organizing. And I should point out the fact that the organizing clients that I had were not chronically disorganized people. They certainly were not hoarders. They were, by and large, home-based business owners.
Of course. Yeah, makes
So
sense.
I wasn't organizing people's closets or basements
Hmm.
or their kitchens. I was in their home offices. And that's when the light bulb went off. It's not about the aesthetics. It's about systems and processes. And that's when I started tapping into my engineering background because
Yeah.
as a chemical engineer, many of us work as what are known as process engineers. So if you're manufacturing uh, a particular chemical, if something goes wrong in the process of producing that chemical, as a chemical engineer, it was my job to figure out what went wrong in the process and where and troubleshoot it to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I took that knowledge, that process knowledge of getting things to flow. So I went from literally figuring out how to best make chemicals flow through a pipeline
Right.
to how do I make work and information flow
Hmm.
throughout a business. So fast forward, I think it was like 2007, I received a call from a district attorney's office,
Okay.
and that was my first commercial job. And here's you'll find this so funny, I think, Michael, to let you know how naive I was. So I was about maybe 30 years old at this point, and I'll never forget going over to the DA's office and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, well, things don't look chaotic. Why did they call me over here? And the more we started talking, they were like, oh my gosh, we don't have a system for this. We don't have a process for this. And I remember thinking, gee, organizations are disorganized? I didn't
Hmm.
know because I came from an engineering world where there was structure and order and organization, and you had checklists and things were documented. Everyone knew what they were supposed to do. And then I went into the world of non manufacturing, non engineering.
And smaller business too,
And
like just smaller business in
exactly,
general. Yeah.
smaller businesses, and I just had no idea. And
Hmm.
over time, you brilliantly pointed out that you do have to listen to what the market tells you they want, what your customers. You have this idea of what you think they want, but
Yep.
your customers always tell you what they actually want. It's our job as entrepreneurs and business owners to actually deliver on that. I think that's what gets so many of us into trouble is when we try to do what we want or what we think should be done.
Isn't that
Um,
funny how when we don't, like when we're busy interpreting or making assumptions, is the time when we often are at our least effective.
mm,
Like
great
especially from a
point.
marketing and sales perspective, when we stop listening and we just start pumping out, this is what I believe they need to do, instead of actually listening to the challenge, it's like we're busy swimming in that ocean behind you, way off in one direction. When the client is actually, hey, dude, I'm over here. Like I'm
Right.
near the tree and you're going the other way.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
For a great example is I used to talk quite a bit when I first started because it was so heavily based in organizing. It was about organizing their paper files and so many people now want paperless offices or as
Mm-hmm.
close to paperless as possible. So just imagine, Michael, if I didn't listen or pay attention to those trends, the importance of digitizing your information as much as you can. That way, the companies who were doing that pre COVID, by the time COVID came around, they were ready because they had a significant portion of their information, of their records in some type of digital format that was stored on the cloud that could easily be shared with other people on their team, their clients, their customers, whomever. But
I love
just
it.
imagine for those who did not listen and pay attention and refused
Mm-hmm.
to get on the bandwagon. And I think a trend that an emerging trend that we're starting to see now that I think will be the next big thing in terms of disruption, and we're either going to figure out how to work with it or it will be our downfall, is AI.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So that's just another example of, I think, what you were talking about earlier when you said being open and being flexible and agile when you see these changes in the marketplace, and you have to pivot a little bit. We can't ever get too comfortable
I love that.
with, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I think you're bang on, Alicia, in the sense that, technology is going to continue to evolve our marketplaces. I don't care what industry you're in, it's going to affect it. If it hasn't already in a big way, it's coming. Right.
that's
So,
right.
I mean, technology is going to force us to keep adapting. But the other part is that I love that you're listening to your client, but you're also seeing the forest for the trees in your experience and going, hang on a second, right? It's not just about organizing people's paper. There's actually structural pieces that are missing in these companies. There's a complete disorganization to the organization, which is ironic.
Right.
But you're seeing that fact, and then you're shifting your offers, your product portfolio to match what's in demand here. So this is a lesson
Yes.
for everybody, right? And this is a marketing lesson coming from, Alicia here for us all, that we need to keep listening to the marketplace and adapting our product portfolio and our offer to match what the marketplace is actually wanting us to do, right? And keep evolving
Absolutely.
forward, right? Perfect. Now, okay. So, Alicia, give me a few benefits here as a small business owner. What are a few benefits to having systems and better structure in place in your company? If you were to give me some of the top 3 benefits here, what would those things be?
I would say absolutely number one is customer experience, because you're in business to make money, obviously, but if it were not for your customers, there would be no business.
Yep.
So you need to make sure that your customers have the absolute best experience that they possibly can. And processes and systems not only enhance their experience, but it makes sure that that experience is consistent. People want we are creatures of habit as human
Yes.
beings. We just are, and we want to know that every time I step into a Starbucks, whether I'm in Vancouver or Atlanta, Georgia, or Hong Kong or Sao Paulo, I am going to roughly have the same experience. So that's number one. Number
Love it.
two, it makes it that much easier for you to grow your team. It reduces team turnover. There is nothing that will put you out of business faster than obviously having poor reviews and upset customers. But internally, when you have high turnover among your team, more than likely it's because people don't know what to do and they don't know how to do it. And you get angry, you fuss at them, and then they get upset and say, well, Michael, you didn't tell me. And then you're going back and forth. Listen, we don't communicate telepathically. You have to document things. So it's a great way of building your team and making sure that everyone knows what to do and how to do it. And I would say third, even if you do not want to sell your business, I'm going to borrow from what Michael Gerber talks about in his infamous book, The E-Myth.
E-Myth, yeah.
Even if you don't want a quote unquote franchisable business, you still need to systematize it, because at the end of the day, processes and systems enable you to work from the beach. Like I'm working from a virtual beach right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But seriously, on a serious note, it ensures that when something happens to us as founders, for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, it could be that you just want to take a holiday. It could be that you are sick. This happened to me. True story. Last April, I had a 10-pound tumor removed.
Oh my gosh.
Thankfully, it was benign, but I was away for 45 days.
Wow.
But thankfully, things didn't collapse and fold into themselves. Nothing fell apart.
Mhm.
Okay. But now there were still some gaps that I noticed for sure. It by no means was perfect. But my point is, we never know when something is going to happen, and processes and systems kind of give us that default that everyone can go to and rely on and say, "Ah, Michael is going to be out for the next 2 weeks. He sprained his ankle, and he's on these pain meds. He's high as a kite. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do all of this work without Michael being around." Ask yourself that question. What would happen if you were away from your business, even if it was just for 2 weeks, let alone an entire month?
I love
What
that.
would happen?
I think that's so important, Alicia, because most of the small business owners that I talk to, and they did a big poll from Forbes magazine, they did a very similar poll from Harvard Business. They asked entrepreneurs what their driving factor was, and it wasn't money. It wasn't money. Like making money was important, but the
Right.
predominant driving factor was freedom.
Freedom. I knew you were going to say it. The beach,
Freedom.
man. I'm
The
telling
beach,
you.
yeah.
This
And it's
is the
not the type of
dream.
it's not necessarily the type of freedom where it's like I just go do whatever I want, whatever. It was more along the lines of going, I built a business that provides me the lifestyle I want, and I am not beholden to the business
Yes.
every single moment of every single day. Right? That was what freedom kind of meant. And
Yes.
whatever business that means for you, whether that's a 7-figure company, whether it's 600 grand a year, whether it's $55 million a year, or whatever it is, I think that's up to the entrepreneur. But the fact of the matter is that most of these business owners, I think it was north of 70%, their predominant driving factor was freedom. And option or element number 3 that you just talked about there, the only way to get that is through structure and systems. I was just in New York for 9 days. Right?
Okay.
I went there for a big, huge event. So I took my kids, my wife and I went. Manhattan for a 2-year-old wasn't a great idea, but
Yeah,
we had
I'm
fun.
sure.
Yeah. But we had a good time. But I was gone for 9 days from my business, my brick and mortar company, right? I was gone for 9 days from my marketing agency. Everything flowed fine.
Mm.
There was no panicked phone calls. There was no, oh my gosh, what do we do? Right? I answered some emails, sure. But the fact of the matter is that because we have systems in place in both of those companies, because I understand structure and put structure into place in a hierarchy and who to talk to when you're running into a challenge, all of those things just worked the way they were supposed to.
And I'm taking down some notes here, Michael, as I'm listening to you, because one thing, if I may, you asked for the top 3 things. If I may add a bonus,
Oh, yes. Yes, please do.
it gives you peace of mind. As I'm
Mm.
listening to you talk about freedom, I'm thinking you cannot put a price tag on having peace of mind. You just can't. I'm sorry. When you know that you can go to Manhattan for 9 days and things won't be set ablaze.
Yeah.
It just having that kind of peace of mind, being able to go to bed with a clear conscience, knowing that I mean, you just can't put a price on it.
We did more revenue in those 9 days. I look at revenue all the time, right? Week by week. The first week that I was gone, we did way better revenue than the week before when I was here. Way better. I should leave more often. This is what this is really telling me, right?
Yeah, that's the lesson learned there.
Lesson
Moral of
learned,
the
yeah.
story.
Moral of the story, exactly. Oh, Alicia, this has been so good. It's been so powerful. So tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you and where best to link up
Sure.
with you.
Sure. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so please
Okay.
feel free to reach out to me there, Alicia Butler Pierre. You can also find me at my personal website, and the reason I like to share that one is because it's like a hub for everything else that I have going on. You can find out more about my podcast, my book, as well as
Mm,
my company website. You can link to all of those things from there. So that's Alicia Butler Pierre.com.
beautiful, beautiful. Okay. and you wanted to share something really quick.
Oh,
before
yes,
we
yes, yes.
wrap
Okay.
things up here. So what was this? What was this
so,
exercise?
oh gosh, and I'm using this virtual background, but I sure hope you can see this. Can you see this? I'm holding up a stick figure and an index card.
Got it.
This
Yes.
literally came from an exercise that I did just this morning with the client. So, really quickly, what you do, take some index cards, write down what you do in your business, every single activity, no matter how complex or how mundane, and write each activity or task onto a separate index card.
Okay.
You're then going to spread all of those index cards across a large table, and you're going to group activities that are similar in nature into columns. You'll then assign all of those activities that you've grouped into these different columns, you're going to roll them up into a department. So you'll
Okay.
end up with things like marketing. Maybe you have a separate sales department, HR, IT, operations, production, so forth and so on, finance, accounting. And then from there, you're going to look at each grouping of index cards on that table. And you're going to ask yourself, in a perfect world, if I had access to all of the resources that I needed, who ideally, I'm
We got you. We got you.
I'm hiding myself. This virtual camera, this virtual background thing is messing with me. Okay, so you have your task. Ask yourself, in a perfect world, who ideally should perform that task? Remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So you may initially say, oh, if I need to select a scheduling tool so that my clients can get booked on my podcast, yeah, and I'm the CEO, I'm the person who does that. I would say, really, Michael? Really? Is that really what you should be doing? And then you and I would have a very candid, frank conversation about that. And you would say, no, you know what? There really should be like a guest manager. And so then I would just erase your title from that stick figure and put guest manager instead. The output of this, Michael, are more succinct, transparent job descriptions. You then have a basis for creating your company's organizational chart. It also helps you figure out what processes you actually need to document for each of those departments. So you would literally have that binder, those binders you were talking about. You would have a binder, if you will, for every single department. That binder would have all of the templates, the tools, the checklists, the processes, the procedures, everything it takes to manage each department. That's the ultimate goal that you want to have. So you can do all of that just from stick figures and index cards. And in my book, I explain exactly how you can do that.
Wow, I love it. What a cool idea. To me, I do something very similar for my own businesses, but I use sticky notes because I like to work on the wall. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And walk around. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Okay. So everybody, go back, watch that again. Okay. Get all the notes, take notes down on the exercise and then go do it. Don't just think about it. Go do it. That's the critical part. Action, action, action. Right? You can't just think and grow rich. You must act in conjunction with the thinking. So thank you so much, Alicia. This has been such a privilege and an honor to have you on the show. Your company does tremendous stuff. I'm so proud that you have you ventured on here with us, and you're just a beautiful soul and a fantastic person. And I love having you on the show. So one final question.
Yes.
Can we have you on the show again sometime?
Absolutely.
Wow, right.
And you're going to come on mine.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Even better.
Sounds good. That was good. You heard it here, folks. Everybody, you heard it here. Alicia said she will come on the show again. Perfect. So, my friends, I hope you got great value of this. Alicia, thank you so much for being on the show. So check her out at aliciabutlerpierre.com. All the links will be in the description down below as well, so you can check out her stuff. Thank you so much, Alicia. And so here's the big thing, my friends. Your systems and the structure of your company are the skeleton of what you've built. All right? Yes, your marketing is kind of the sexy skin on the outside, but if you don't have a skeleton, you are just a flat blob of skin. You are nothing. So you need that skeletal structure, which is what we're talking about today. So if you want to ramp up, if you want to scale up, reach out to Alicia. She's brilliant. She can really help your company. And thank you so much again for being on the show, Alicia.
Thank you, Michael. You are a breath of fresh air, I tell you.
There's an image that's not going to leave anytime soon. All right, my friends. I have been Michael. She has been Alicia. You have been awesome. This has been another episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks again, and ciao for now.